check out the 510 horsepower beast of the C63S, the top sports version. Now we are taking this massive C63S, a top model with 510 horsepower, on the Ascari racetrack here in southern Spain. Let's see how that actually plays out with the rear-wheel drive, so much power, and also with the differential lock, because there's a basic difference between the C63S and the non-S version, just the C63, a little bit less horsepower, and the rear differential is mechanical on the C63, and here on the S version it's electronical, maybe to get even more performance. Let's see. All right, let's start with the C63S on the racetrack, and you already hear it. This is of course a big difference to the C400, already just sound-wise. And of course the car is stiffer, lower, more brutal, got the rear-wheel drive, and it's just the pure racing machine. And first I get a little bit used to the racetrack, and the second round will push a little bit harder. Then what I already now feel is that the brakes apply way harder. We got of course bigger brakes here as well, and you don't really need this car for your everyday driving, but for the racetrack, I mean, why not? Also, the thing with the different rear differential locks will mostly play a part if you're really a very professional driver and really push the limits. Won't really play such a huge effect here for me now. If it's mechanical or electronical, it's good that you do have it. That reduces the wheel spin, especially when you accelerate out of the corners. Very direct steering wheel here. And the Ascari racetrack is famous actually for that it mixes different racetracks from all over the world in different passages of the racetrack. And that's what makes it so interesting right here. There is never a performance hole with this car. No matter when you press the throttle, it's always right there with this V8. And that's, for example, also the big difference. For example, if you pick a bigger sports car, which is heavier, here as we're still in the mid-size segment, the car still feels very agile and you can very well control it. The balance is very good actually, so even if we're here now in the V8, we got a lot of power just via the rear wheels, it always feels kind of controllable. However, difference to the C400 or later also to the C450 will be, you don't have the all-wheel drive here. That means if you are able to play around with the car, maybe let the rear wheel drive slip a little bit. In the Sport Plus mode we feel it now a little bit when we push the throttle really hard, that we slip around the corner a little bit. That is of course good here for the racing, but for your everyday street riding, then the all-wheel drive would of course be the better pick. Yeah, actually I'm really enjoying riding the C-Class Coupé, the new generation here, and you really feel the G-force. I have also the G-meter in the central screen here as well. And that shows me how much G-forces are applied to each side. For example, now 0.8 to the left side when I'm in the right corner. That's always, of course, a nice feature for a racetrack to show off to your friends, for example. Let's hammer it even more. By the way, another difference is here in the shifting. You usually got an automatic converter gearbox with, for example, also the C400. So far the 7-speed one. Later on next year they will also introduce a new 9-speed automatic converter gearbox for that here in the AMG models. However, it's different. We got the MCT here, means multi-clutch transmission, or other manufacturers call it dual clutch transmissions, 7-speed. And there you have even faster shifting process, and that is reserved here for the very sporty models. So maybe now we're going a little bit harder pace, so enjoy with me the sound and the performance of the C63S. Surely one of the best sports cars that can be mixed still with the car you can actually still drive in everyday drive. Now we start to slide a little bit. Wow, incredible. Until the tires start to scream, then you're right there actually. But of course, I mean, compared to a professional race driver who does that maybe every day, of course, no match here. It was 180 and then just hammer the brakes and then 80 kilometers again, so fast. As it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers, about 4 seconds. Almost as fast, you're on 0 again. And that's of course maybe even the more important part here. There it is. So, I hoped you enjoyed our 2 hot laps here. I really did. It's of course, you know, at the one hand physically demanding, but if you compare it to other some very extreme sports cars, this one is still fairly easy to handle. Now, over 86,000 euros in the price is the top version C63S, Mercedes-AMG C63S. That's the official description. What we see here is the front is even stronger and we have the use of carbon fiber. Everything is even more accentuated than in the AMG line, and also the grille is actually quite different. We don't have these diamond pins here. This is more this meshed kind of grille, and of course the AMG logo. More powerful appearance. However, I think the AMG line still is my favorite from design in the front. Or what's your opinion on that one? Do you prefer more this one or the AMG line, or maybe the total standard grille of the C-Class? What else is different? 19-inch rims are from standard equipment here with the C63S, and then optionally for 5,000 euros you can get those carbon ceramic brakes. And why did they do it for the 5,000 euros? For example, Porsche, they cost even more because they use 4 of these ceramic brakes here. Here, we only got them in the front, but this is actually really sufficient because you don't really need them in the back. So in the back, we also have the standard brakes then here. They are of course a little bit bigger than, but here the ceramic brakes are actually enough in the front. Then it's also not that expensive to go for this option. And by the way, even if you have bright alloys here, not the black ones, they get actually not that dirty than even if you're on a racetrack, because it's different, you know, not so much dust is evolving from these ceramic brakes. And also contrasting brake calipers here, very impressive here as well. In the side profile of the AMG version we see those contrasting mirror caps in the carbon fiber. And then we don't have the chrome frame here, but all in black. Everything is kind of dark and evil. Welcome to the evil side. And also a strong spoiler at the side part, again in carbon fiber. But of course the basic form is the same, and we got this very beautiful Coupé line. But I want to hear from you guys really if you really prefer this very aggressive AMG version, or if you would rather go for the rather elegant versions. So that's of course always according to the taste. Brilliant blue is my favorite color for the C-Class. You can always go for it with the normal versions, of course. So this is a Thomas Blue in this case. Here at the rear of the AMG version, we get a strong carbon fiber wing. And I'm not that a big fan of rear wings, but this one is very well integrated. You see how it starts a little bit slimmer and then gets bigger at the middle part. So they really have thought about the design in this case. And as I said with the taillights before, they really want to differentiate the normal versions now, because I've talked to a designer earlier, and so they can actually go for the sedan versions and the Coupé version, that they really are distinguished from each other. That is actually the strategy that is behind that. And finally, a strong diffuser here at the rear part and AMG sporting exhaust. And you see AMG logo is printed on the top of the exhaust here. Let's take a look beneath the hood. As I said, the 63S version here, 510 horsepower, about 4 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers. Really, of course, just massive. And hand-built, handcrafted by AMG, and it's the guy that did this one man, one engine concept, so he is responsible for this whole engine. The C63 version without the S, it says 476 horsepower. Doesn't make such a huge difference. It's more about the equipment, because this one here has even more some special features like this electronic rear differential lock, not the mechanical one. The electronic rear differential lock, by the way, there you can adjust how much is the differential really working, kind of from 0 to 100%. The mechanical one always has a fixed ratio at how the differential is actually locked. It's usually about some kind of, I think, 1 to 30, 1 to 40, something like that, I think. But with the electronic one, even more evolved, and so you can very well control. Of course, the car does that for you. Now, what is different with the interior? You see here at the inside of the doors, bright cloth. And then usually you got seats here. Those ones are the special AMG sports seats. They're more like a bucket allied. And well, I would not really recommend them. The other ones are more comfortable. However, they look quite fancy. Usually with the AMG versions, you get Alcantara on the inside and the faux leather Artico on the outside. Well, not Alcantara, it's Dinamica, you know, the competitor brand. That would be the perfect setup, but here the full leather option is displayed, which is not good for racing really. What I really love is that we here got the microfiber on the steering wheel at the outside parts, and that is really great for the grip, and not only for racing style, also when you're just driving it in everyday life, it just feels softer when you have the microfiber at the outside. And the design scheme here on the inside is as well carbon fiber. You see it here, for example, at the middle console part. And although you don't have the airmatic suspension here, there's a special AMG sports suspension, AMG ride control, and there you can also individualize your settings. And that doesn't work with air suspension here, but with special dampers that can adjust them. So how does a C63S behave in everyday driving life? We're going to all the modes as well. Let's start with normal city driving life. Of course, you already hear that difference from the 4-liter displacement and the V8 The same engine is, by the way, used in the Mercedes-AMG GT. We also have the review of that one in our channel. It's also linked in the video description, so you can also compare with that one. And that shows how sporty that car really is. The same engine is used for that one, but of course, why not? Let's first check out the way. But by the way, my verdict about the GPS, generally quite satisfied with it. I think so you always kind of fastly zoom in and out. Let's start the C63S again. And I've been running the engine before, so the engine is already a little bit warm, otherwise I won't do that now. Go into drive mode, then I pick the race mode. It's also even more than Sport Plus is available here. Then I press the ESC off. And then I can hold the pedals, both pedals, then confirm pedal up. And so race start is available. I can push on the brakes with my left foot, hold the acceleration with my right foot. And that's 120. Wow. Really some incredible stuff. And you don't feel the rear wheels sliding totally away. And the reason for that is this race start, because it's not about you got the most wheel spin, the most power on the ground. You get the most power in a controlled way on the ground. That is the key of the race start and really works incredible, really. And yeah, we've told you a lot about the performance already on the racetrack. When we're in the Race Plus mode, you hear it when the downshifting process is active. Actually, this exhaust is just like really a monster in itself. And of course, it's not that relaxing for everyday riding. And also in the Race Plus mode, when we're going over some small speed bumps here now, really feel every inch of the road to get the direct contact. And also when you steer, you got a quite stiff, sporty steering wheel, and every command is directly transported. But this kind of stiff ride is of course not very suitable if you're always in the car. And you hear it also now from the RPMs, the car is not shifting up. And if we go now to the Sport Plus mode, here the Sport Plus mode is already a difference and would be comparable, kind of easy to ride then. And if I then go into the comfort mode, relax. Now already with 50 kilometers an hour in fourth gear. The steering wheel feels a little bit softer here now as well. That is then also kind of easy to ride. But still the suspension is of course stiffer than in the normal models here with the AMG models. And also the seating, as I said earlier, you don't have so much room for the to relax your body. So everything is stiffer here as well, or I feel it now here. And so for your everyday riding, I can really recommend to go for the compromise. For example, the C400, or as we've shown with the sedan, the version that will also come for the Coupé, the C450. That would be my recommendation if you want a very sporty ride, but still not searching for this very, very race car. Everything else is kind of the same. Of course, here the most expensive parts are ordered, for example, also with the brakes. We do feel it actually, but it's all more optimized on the racetrack. So of course this car here will also find its buyers, just those who say, okay, I really want the maximum that is possible technology wise. But of course others more look at the compromise. And I think the best seller will probably be in future those AMG light models, because they kind of make sense, are emotional and very powerful at the same time. This is, by the way, the head-up display, and it does look a little bit different in the AMG version, definitely. And for example, we've seen in the other version, it's always optional, but you can, for example, also get some GPS information in there. However, if I'm now in the comfort mode, normal Autobahn riding is always possible, of course. And then you always have the V8 as a reserve. And this massive displacement always plays a certain role if you just want to have some fun. Let me put in the ESC again, so that's on, because for normal street driving it doesn't make sense if it's off. But with this rear-wheel drive you can do some great sliding action. You've also seen it on our footage. And so if I feel like I need to overtake someone now, and that's kind of it. So yeah, you get a lot of serenity with this V8, definitely, but there are hardly any chances on the road you can really use that power for sure. So if you are kind of okay with a sporty and stiff riding, and also compare it to let's say this true sports car build, because this one is still based on a mid-size vehicle, then this one is still very well drivable. So you don't feel kind of that caged in that of I'm in a very small uncomfortable sports car. So again, I think it's a very clever choice if you want, you know, not too uncomfortable car, but still want a kind of sporty car, to go for a C-Class here in the powerful version. So I think in overall, no matter which versions you pick, a clever pick then. Yeah, and I mean, as you have the Coupé, even looks more dramatic. And the strange thing is, with this car, you don't kind of see this dramatic Coupé outline when you're sitting inside the car, but somehow you know it, and that influences also your way you feel when driving the car on the inside. Maybe you have experienced that as well with your car, and if you do, then put me that one here in the comments.